so proud to be Haitian because just everything about being Haitian is just awesome.
You know, everyone know about the history of Haiti, first Black independent country in 1804.
Understanding the history of Haiti or Haitian people, you can't help but be proud of the accomplishment that have happened.
Haitian Americans have done really well in the past few years. There's still a lot more work to be done. Only about 20% of us actually have a bachelor's degree.
I understand firsthand some of the challenges that Haitian American students, graduates, and professionals have faced.
Some of them have overcome incredible adversity.
Both immigrated or asylum seekers or refugees.
There are not that many Haitian-focused scholarships, but like any other award, the NAAHP Leadership Award is providing recognition for one's hard work.
As we know, college is expensive, so this scholarship fund provides the chance for a brighter future.
It felt like the universe was speaking, like I needed the money, I was intrigued, people were telling me to apply.
Going to college or graduate school can be very, very expensive. So donating to a scholarship like this would help that expense be more manageable.
Future generation of leaders, scholars, entrepreneurs,
young adults that are trying to make something of their lives.
They are rock stars. They just need the help, and they need us to help them accomplish it.
There's like this Haitian proverb that says, "Many hands make the load lighter."
Log in and you can donate $10, $25, $50.
It makes me think of the Malcolm X quote that education is our passport to the future, for tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today. It makes me happy to know that our organization is contributing to that goal, preparing others for the future.
All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here today. We have a great conversation planned for you and some awesome panelists here who are tech founders and professionals and entrepreneurs in the space, and they're doing some really innovative things, and this is just going to be a great opportunity to learn and ask questions. And so I'm going to get started and introduce you to some of our panelists. So I'm going to start with Clifford. So Clifford is a digital marketing genius, and he's here to share some information for all of you who are looking or have a business, looking to expand a business, grow it. We had some previous conversations together, and it was just very enlightening. And so I think you guys are going to love all the gems he drops. Next, we also have Genevieve, and this is just like one of my things I'm very obsessed with, blockchain. Genevieve is just like kind of like breaking the mold, going into waters that have not been explored before. And she's creating a solution with AgriLedger that addresses transparency and just like the supply chain and bringing more trust in that process. And so we'll allow her to go a little bit deeper, give you guys more of an explanation on how she executes that. But I'll go introduce you to our next panelist, Pascale. Pascale is just taking over the fintech space. Some really great innovations in Haiti that will allow for more financial inclusion. And so this is going to be just definitely a great introduction into how things currently work in Haiti and how technologies like this will really revolutionize financial inclusion in Haiti and across the world, really. And finally, we have Tanis. Tanis is the founder and CEO of TapTapNow. And this is just a really cool mobile application. So you just heard it now, so download it if you don't already have it on your phones. TapTapNow is a application that allows you to find Haitian restaurants globally. So whether you're in the UK, Canada, Chile, you'll find a Haitian restaurant nearby. I want to thank our panelists for being here. And I also want to definitely thank our partners, Chacarella and Book It Accountancy. Without them, this conversation couldn't happen. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started with some of our questions. And I think I'm going to start, and again, I'm just going to pick a panelist and you guys can add a little bit more color to the bio or intro that I gave you, but I'll start off with like a question and we can go from there if that works. So I'll start off with Pascale. So tell us a little bit about what you're doing in Haiti. I know it's around the fintech space. Can you give us a little backstory?
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Whitney. I'm Pascale Elie, co-founder and chairwoman for Haiti Pay, a fintech based in Haiti. We are operators for a mobile wallet and electronic payment ecosystem platform. We recently launched Cellpay. Cellpay is a platform that promotes international remittance that promotes transfer cash to goods for within the diaspora for their loved ones in the Caribbean and Latin America in general. So we are definitely promoting financial inclusion and electronic forms of payment and transactions to lower cost of transaction in general and have more people having access to financial tools and financial way of doing transaction. So I'm very happy and excited to be in this panel. Thank you, Whitney.
Awesome, thank you. Next up, I'll have Clifford introduce himself.
Thank you, Whitney. Hello, everyone. My name is Clifford. I go by Cliff. I'm a digital marketing strategist. Really have a background in tech. I spent over 15 years working in tech, but in 2016, after a major layoff for the company I was working with, I decided to go on my own to really make a difference, not just earning a paycheck, but I really wanted to do something where I can wake up every day and feel like I'm making an impact in people's lives. So I had decided to go on my own and help small businesses grow. Because with the past success that I had in my own business, I was in telecom for a little bit. I don't know, with the whole pinless calling card back in the days. Started this company. I was 25, grew to like 7 figures. I didn't know what I was doing. I made all the mistakes in the world, but I learned all the financial mistakes though. I mean, company wise, we did really well. We did really great against the big guys that were out there at that time. But then I was able to use these mistakes as stepping stones to up until today, what I do now is technically help entrepreneurs, small businesses, take their business to the next level or their passion. So I'm excited about that. Thank you.
Awesome. And I'm really excited about kind of like digging deeper into like the financial parts of like entrepreneurship. We didn't have a chance to talk about that previously, but I might dig deeper into that. So thank you, Clifford. So we'll move on to Genevieve. You're next on my screen. So introduce yourself and what you're doing with AgriLedger.
Sure. And first of all, I apologize, but I pronounce it Genevieve. Very much the French way, Genevieve Leveille. And I am the CEO of AgriLedger, and we are working on a project in Haiti with the Haitian government, with the support of the World Bank, looking to create entrepreneurs out of basically people with mango trees in the back of their houses. As we all know, when we see Haitian mango at the supermarket, we just gravitate to it, and we know how expensive it is. So when we compare that to what's happening in Haiti, we start realizing that it's very imbalanced. So what this allows is actually the assetization and allowing the farmer to have, or the producer to have that ownership all the way to the foreign market, and changing the way actually that commerce is done, in that the purveyors or the exporters are no longer themselves just taking the risk, but the risk is distributed across the value chain, which means the farmer has to grow the right items, and everybody gets to be well paid. But more than anything else is you now start creating that entrepreneurship at that level where they understand what they need to produce, and as a result get the rewards. And that can be an increase of, right now we've shown it to be about 750%, and that's with nobody having any idea that actually it's tracked on a blockchain. And you could expect another 20% uplift just from that.
Awesome. I just love what you're doing. I've been following your work, so I definitely look forward to us kind of like digging deeper into why this is so important in Haiti. So we're going to take it on to you, Tanis.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Whitney, for hosting this, and NAAHP for hosting this, and Whitney for moderating for us. So my name is Tanis. I'm the founder of TapTap Now. So we're a mobile app that allows you to find Haitian restaurant just about anywhere you go. So if there's a Haitian restaurant there, it's going to be in the app. So the goal is to, one, make it easy for you to find Haitian restaurants, and two, to help promote Haitian cuisine. So the app was built by a team of Haitian developers that are based in Haiti. So the goal is right now is just try to promote the technology in Haiti right now to show you that there are people with the skill necessary to build like a very decent app in Haiti or build you a nice website. And the kids are there, they're hungry, they're ready to work. So TapTap was one of the projects that I wanted to bring to you guys so you can see exactly how much talent we have. So the second part to TapTap Now is, of course, to try to address some of the concerns that we as Haitian, we're dealing with when it comes to dealing with Haitian restaurants, primarily with customer service. So the app's supposed to try to help us like address some of these issues by making it easy for you to place your orders, as opposed to having to spend like 15, 20 minutes on the phone calling the restaurant only to find out they don't have fish. Or just drive to the restaurant only to find out, they're out of the product. So that in real time, the restaurant owners, they can make changes to the app. If you want out of something, you can just log into the website or use an app that we provide them with. They can just make changes right there on the spot. So again, I'm excited about this panel, and of course, I'm excited to hear exactly any questions that you guys may have about TapTap Now.
Awesome. I see we already have some questions coming in. So I have it scheduled for audience questions at 7:20, but we already have some questions prepared. So we're going to dive deeper into those questions. And then at 7:20, we'll go into the audience questions. So keep them coming. So I'm going to start off with a question. And this one is going to be directed to Pascale. So we're going into financial inclusion, and that's kind of like the space that you're working with, right? So why is financial inclusion so important in Haiti? Why Haiti?
Well, in Haiti, it's a cash-based economy. Making a transaction can take hours, days, and it can be very expensive in terms of wasting time, in terms of interest rate, in terms of transaction fees, and many families and people do not have access to proper and basic financial tools or financial institution, and that makes transacting very complicated, very expensive, and very non-traceable. So it makes it non-reliable. Financial inclusion is very important to make the financial sector in a modern route. So to open the economy to the international, or even to ease transaction nationally, it makes doing business even easier and less expensive for people living within this economy and financial world. So for us at Haiti Pay, it's not a battle, but it's been our journey since the beginning to not only advocate for financial inclusion, but work with the technology, work with existing financial institution, work with regulators to implement the best tools that will promote financial inclusion, that will promote best way to do financial transaction, best way to do a payment for the goods and services that we regularly acquired, we get regularly paid for. I'm talking basic transaction, internet, television, school, rent, things that transactions such as repaying loans. Those things look very basic and easy to be executed, but when those transactions are made by cash, there's no traceability. There's a high risk toward the security of the person. There is also the fact that you cannot. It's not instant. Where we're living in a world where payment has to be instant, but receiving what you paid for has to be instant also. And we're living in a world of messaging. So transaction, facilitating transaction and facilitating communication between people doing transaction is what we've been working for. We are working in since we launched in 2012. And I think today the stakeholders and the financial sector in general is more ready to embrace the financial inclusion and is working in a more efficient way to accept technology as the main, as a very important tool to bring financial inclusion and bring the financial sector of Haiti to another level.
Awesome. I really admire that. And I think it's so important, and this is definitely groundbreaking work that's being done in Haiti. I want to bring up the next question up to Clifford. So, we had a previous conversation and we were talking about some of the things that Haitian entrepreneurs need to consider when they're launching. So one of my questions is, how do you think Haitian entrepreneurs can best position their businesses for growth, whether they exist here, Canada, or wherever?
Okay, yeah, pretty good question. One of the main thing with business growth is that one of the things that I think entrepreneurs need to really address is that know that you're in business to buy clients, right? Meaning have a really solid strategy to find out exactly, what is it going to cost me to acquire one client, and also does it make sense, right? Because let's say you're spending $20 to acquire a client, but you sell a product that's like 99 cents or that's, $2, and then the life cycle of the client is, probably 90 days or 4 months, then that's where it doesn't make sense at all. So to me, that's one of the most important things, is knowing your numbers. I mean, having a solid strategy with the numbers behind it, then okay, this makes perfect sense. Like, it costs me $5 to acquire a client. I sell a product that's $30. Then I know that I have this recipe. I just have to multiply it by 1,000, and this is technically what's gonna help me grow, the company. And I see, I see this all the time where I start working with a business, and they don't know their numbers. I mean, to me, it's fundamental to know exactly your starting point.
No, and I love the answer. And I think for anybody who's watching who doesn't really understand how this all ties in, I think a lot of the work that, for example, Pascale is doing is creating this foundation for all these businesses that exist in Haiti, all these entrepreneurs who would want to launch in Haiti, for them to actually operate. And what you just said is what will allow them to actually grow. So, there's a foundation that needs to be built and established in Haiti. And, entrepreneurs like Pascale and my French is Lou, as they would say. So Genevieve, so AgriLedger, I think, will create that foundation that will allow these entrepreneurs to get to a wider market. But then there's that next step, and that's that business acumen that you're speaking on, especially in the digital space. So I think that brings me to like another question that Clifford, you could help answer. In terms of digital marketing, what piece of technology do you think that Haitian entrepreneurs need to add to their portfolio of tools?
Okay, it all depends, really. It's like it depends on the business, right? Because there are so many different tools out there. Because when we talk about digital marketing, I mean, it could be It could be the phone, it could be social media, it could be email marketing. I mean, it's a whole world, right? I mean, there's a lot of pieces into it. But if I were to say one piece of technology, I would point chatbot, which it's a piece of technology. It's a software. I mean, there are many companies that do host that type of software as a service. They call them SaaS. I mean, there's one specifically that I use. I don't know if you want me to name companies, but technically, what it is that a chatbot allows you to have multiple conversations with your prospects at once, or even your customers, because you could use it for customer service. You could use it to talk to your leads. Because to me, one of the biggest thing, I tell entrepreneurs is that it's all about starting a conversation with your prospects, with your leads, right? Now, the chatbot is not there to replace human, although it can have can have conversation with people on your behalf. But I mostly teach people how to use it, and I use it myself more like to pre-frame the leads, because you can ask them certain questions. They could probably see your ads on social media, and then they click on the ad, or maybe you send them an email and then they click on the link. Then the chatbot kind of like start a conversation with them. Then you could use that to pre-frame the leads by asking them certain questions, right? And then a certain part of the conversation, then you can have the chatbot notify you or your staff, okay, this person is qualified, then this person should be, like a real human should take over the conversation, and it technically seamlessly, right? Because let's say you're doing some type of advertisement and you have like 1,000 people that are interested. Then of course, I mean, these like 1,000 people, they could be at the top of the funnel. That doesn't mean that they are gonna be qualified to work with you, or your product is going to be good for them, because they might be in the other side of the world and you can service them. But the chatbot would then ask them certain questions, and then would lead on to a part where, okay, like this person is a qualified lead, then it will can take over. And this is something also that can be used for customer service, because people tend to do more business with companies that they can have a conversation with, or they can talk to. So by having a chatbot permanently, it's like having a 24/7 employee that's always there to answer certain questions. I mean, of course, it's not going to be able to answer it all, but at least they'll feel like they have this conversation with the brand, and then again, at some point, a real human can take over that conversation and better help the customer. And this is a tool that I love. I use it. I'm a chatbot expert for ManyChat, where our company is listed on their website as an agency partner. So I mean, to me, it's one of the most important tools. Doesn't matter the business, whether you're like a realtor, whether you're like in e-com, whether you're like service-based. I think this could be very, very useful to you.
For that. Actually, I want to kind of like dive deeper into the part where you talked about customer service, because I think Tanis kind of brought it up with when he was talking about restaurants and like our Haitian restaurants and our preconceived notions about them or experiences. So this question is going to be for you, Tanis. So what are some challenges you had? It's a two-part question. What are some challenges you had getting restaurants to come on board on TapTap Now? And the second question is, what should Haitian restaurants be doing right now in order to survive like this post-COVID world? What technologies should they be using, or what strategies should they be implementing?
Great, that's a very good question. First, for the first part of the question, the biggest challenge we've had right now with restaurants is just that. Well, let me just kind of backtrack. So there are two different types of like restaurant owners right now in our community. So you find like a very old-fashioned person that just had some money, just open up a restaurant. They have no technology background, no nothing. So these restaurants, sometimes they don't even have a logo. They don't have a website. You can barely find them anywhere. Or sometimes maybe their kids may step in and try to help them with some of the social media. And of course, you find like a very advanced one person who has a restaurant where they're all over the place, you can find them like on Instagram, Facebook, everywhere. So one of the biggest challenges we've had right now is just like the ones that are already up to date with technology. So it's a pretty clear sell to them. You just tell them, hey, you know, this is what we're doing. This is the product we have. It's pretty much similar to Uber Eats and DoorDash. We're definitely much cheaper, and we provide you the same service. And we're in 3 languages: French, Creole, and English. So it's an easy sell. But the other ones, it's just tougher for them to grasp, to get the idea. I've had instances where I would go to a restaurant and then talk to the owner. They're like, well, I don't see the point of me adding more service because chaque fois que je fais manger, I'm sold out. So I don't know how you argue with this, because, you know, for me it's just like, okay, I want to give them a bigger platform, just, you know, give them a bigger exposure. But for them, you know, since they're sold out every time they have their food, so they're fine, they're good. So it's just like, also we have a second app for the restaurant owners. A lot of them, they don't want to put it on their phone. They want me to give them a tablet. So for me to keep my costs, my expenses very low, so I can afford to just give everybody a tablet. Because once you give them a tablet, then you have to worry about like hardware support, and if something breaks, so they're gonna call you. You know, so my hope was that they're just gonna download the second app on their phone. So when an order comes in, they can just, you know, relay that information to the kitchen and everything else. So that's one of the challenges we had. The second biggest challenge, of course, it's more fundamental to Haitian in general. It's just like, I think Haitian people, they don't want other Haitians to know their business, because now every one of their transactions will have to come to our platform. So now they don't want people to know, you know what, on any given day, you know, I'm making so much money. So I don't think they're really they're comfortable with that. So it's been a big challenge for us to try to convince them to join us, because one of the things we try to do with TapTap now is just to kind of get access to some data. For example, let's say if you, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Miami, let's say you live in Miami Gardens, and then you place an order to a restaurant that's in Little Haiti. So we need to figure out exactly how long are you willing to drive to get to that restaurant. So it's information that we can provide the restaurant owner. Let's say if they're thinking about expanding, or if they want to shut down that area, open somewhere else, then we can just tell them, hey, you know what, most of your customers, they're coming from this zip code. But again, I need a big sample of restaurants for us to be able to gather that information. So that's one of the challenges with that. Now, post-COVID-19. So the biggest thing for now for Haitian restaurant is just the health and safety of their customers. So somehow they have to make that a priority, because people right now, they're all about safety and health. So if you walk in a restaurant, you realize that these people are not clean, or the place is not clean. I mean, I think that's just going to turn off a lot of people. The second thing is the supply chain. So somehow, because of COVID-19, we had an issue with supply chain, where a lot of these restaurants, they couldn't find their produce. So somehow they need to figure out exactly if they're going to have to try to streamline the menu to make it more lean, so to speak, so they can service their client. And of course, the third option would be to try to get like a delivery service, like a Uber Eats, a DoorDash, or of course TapTap now, because a lot of people now, they're just going to try to stay away from the normal going out and eat and then just pack up in a restaurant. So they definitely have to have like an online presence through like a website, like a mobile app, or even if it's like a WhatsApp, because, you know, I've seen a lot of people in Haiti doing that now, where they just you can place your orders through WhatsApp. So there are so many different ways. So somehow they need to be online. So yeah.
And I like the fact that you brought up supply chain. So Genevieve fell off the call, but I think that's going to be a great follow-up question to ask her, because a lot of what she's working on with AgriLedger is around produce in that supply chain and securing that, utilizing the blockchain. So I'm going to ask an overall question that any one of you can answer. Because, you know, you're all entrepreneurs. We're all entrepreneurs here. So what has been maybe like the biggest challenge you've faced as an entrepreneur? I think a lot of our viewers are in like that same position, and they're trying to navigate it. And so maybe giving us some tidbits of information, gems from your own experience, might enlighten them to the possible, you know, hurdles they may face and possible ways they could address it. Anyone can pick.
I can go with that for now. The first thing I would say, you need to learn to be flexible. Flexible meaning that you have this what you think is a great idea, but it's a great idea to you. It doesn't translate to everybody else or to all the like for me, for example, I'm like, I think Tap now is such a great idea. Like everybody's just gonna embrace it. But not really. So I've had to do so many different tweaks to my business model just to respond to what the restaurants are asking. So you need to learn to become very flexible. Don't just try to think you're going to stick to what your plan is, because in fact for us it's kind of more challenging because we have two different customers we have to please. We have the restaurants as one, and of course we have the actual customer, like the users. So we needed to find the right balance. So, but then that requires a lot of like research, and then a lot of like, I've had so many meetings with restaurant owners just to try to pick their brains, and of course with the customers, just to find out exactly what would work for them. So being flexible, and then try to learn to adapt to changes. So that would be like one advice I would give them.
No, and I think that's so true. I cannot tell you how many pivots I've done in my journey as an entrepreneur, as a professional in this space. So I think that's just something you have to get comfortable with. Your first idea, your first launch of the website, it's never going to stay the same. It's always evolving. You're gathering more data, as you mentioned, the importance of data. And so definitely as an entrepreneur, you guys are going to want to take that into consideration. So a follow-up question, this is again for anybody. We haven't really talked about like hiring. So what has been some challenges that you've encountered in terms of hiring talent?
I can go there if you.
Go ahead, Pascale.
Yeah. Yes, I would go back to the previous question just a little about the challenges in general that we faced as a startup here in Haiti. I'd say that might be the same issue the same challenge for many startups with great ideas is access to funding, access to capital. With Haiti Pay, we've been in operation for 8 years now, and we have a product that works, and we have bring solutions to many users, whether it's individual customers or institutional, because we work a lot with NGOs for payroll disbursement, and we work with merchants so they can onboard the ecosystem. We had proven to bring that solution, and now after all these years, we are at a stage we need to bring the business to another level. And for the past 2 years, I know it's been 2 difficult years, especially in Haiti. Not only the COVID situation, but the instability also. We've been putting our stuff together and opening our capital for more to bring more capital, to bring more to onboard more investors, and it has been a challenge finding and being able to partnering with local investors has been a challenge. Now we are at our second phase of our program. We just started the Cell Pay that is connecting the diaspora to their families here in Haiti, and we are targeting the Caribbean, the Latin America in general, and we are planning to address the capital, the funding issue we've learned from the startup in Haiti differently, such as crowdfunding, venture capitalists, etc. Now, for the second question about hiring, as a fintech, we are working a lot with local developers, but we are having a lot of challenges to find high level developers, and one solution and one good addition to events like this would be able to connect with developers among the diaspora, among the Caribbean that would high-level developers that would bring good input to the project where we are today as a tech company. That is very important, and it has been a challenge for us also.
No, and that's I think the conversation around hiring talent and access to capital is something we can definitely go dive into deeper. But since we have Genevieve here, I'll ask the next question. So I'm obsessed with what you're doing. It's incorporating blockchain. It's addressing this crucial industry in Haiti, agriculture. Can you dive a little bit deeper into explaining to our audience why this type of innovations targeting the supply chain, agricultural supply chain, is so important, not only for like the Haitian farmers, the Haitian entrepreneur farmers, but us as consumers of these goods that these farmers produce?
So we should actually say that what we are addressing is the value chain. The supply chain and value chain are intertwined, and that value is really what is being transferred from hand to hand. Now, when we look at the consumer today, most consumers want to know, no matter if they're buying local or they're buying foreign, what exactly they're putting in. We've had, with COVID, really, we have shown how fragile that supply chain is and how complicated it is. So what has happened is that we have been blessed in Haiti to have certain goods that are really needed elsewhere, but not valued. So, when we always talk about valorization, and that valorization of ourselves is not clear, and those who are getting the benefits is not the country. So not only for Haiti, but across the platform, when we look at agriculture, agriculture is the oldest supply chain, value chain that exists. It is a transfer of good for a reward or a payment. And that is also something that if you don't have food, you are going to die. There's no two way about it. And the other thing is that we can see even in Haiti that the average farmer is in the age of 58. So what's happening is that parents tell their children, don't be a farmer. So therefore, we don't have the right people really working in there. And this is across the world. Across the world, the average age is 58. So what we need to do is to, through the use of technology, create a plausible income which allow people to go back into this space and then be able to provide. Because we have been hearing a lot of things about regenerative agriculture. Regenerative agriculture at its heart is about smallholding farming. It's about farming for only what is needed and putting back into the earth or into a circular economy. So this is fundamental to all the world. And in Haiti, we all know we don't use chemical. They can't afford to use a chemical. So why not allow them to benefit from this and be really rewarded for the work that they are doing? So what we're looking at is really how do you address the food industry? And something that is coming up pretty soon in the US is that the FDA is going to demand that you have traceability at the lot level. So this is something that we will have for Haiti already. And not only are we doing the mango, but also for the first time in Haiti, we'll have international exportation of avocado. And if we know, avocado is gold, basically. That thing sells like $5 something a kilo. So that can not only bring back money to the producers, but also bring back money to the government in form of taxation, which is not based on remittance. So it's no longer waiting for somebody to have the goodwill to actually send money for a family member, which helps the central bank have, a way of actually creating liquidity. But it's actual liquidity that's coming back into the country without intermediary. So what we actually do is not only the traceability of the produce, but it's also the traceability back of the payment and making sure that everyone gets paid what they should be receiving.
I love that. And I think at the core, because we're all like, business owners, entrepreneurs, and a lot of times we have the conversation, just going back to the previous question around access to capital. Does anybody else want to jump on that question on what their journey was like in terms of locating funding to get to the next step, or like opportunities they came across? And this is a general question for everyone.
I can take it in that I decided to go the road less travel, which is to basically bootstrap and use the revenue that we receive. But now I realize that in order to scale this, and Haiti to me was the use case and the proving ground, because if you can make it happen in Haiti, mostly during COVID, you can basically make it happen anywhere, because we deployed this application without being on the ground ourselves. So it was kind of blind. I'm not going to say it's perfectly like I would like to have it, but now in order to scale, I need to go and get investment in. But what I actually believe is that we need to look at alternative investments, not always VC money. So my first round, I don't want to go VC. I would rather go family offices, which basically have impact, because now this whole idea of impact is no longer about return on investment, but return on impact, and we can demonstrate impact. And the second thing is to look at ventures, like corporate ventures, who will not be looking for you to have a return in the next 2 or 3 years, but have a much longer view of it. And finally, by actually looking more at the social aspect, this is how we can actually go at it. But one of the things I think is people are not aware enough of the fact that family office and ventures exist. And this is another place to tap and not really have to go and sell your soul to the VC right away.
No, that's a great point. I think a lot of people assume they watch Shark Tank and they see just like one route, the VCs, angels, but there's just so many different options available. And again, the family house, which you mentioned there, the venture funds, as well as what Pascale mentioned, equity crowdfunding, like these are all new, a lot of them new, like equity crowdfunding routes on new startups can go in order to receive that funding to scale and grow their businesses. So the next question I have, and it's kind of like going back to what question I had with Tanis when we were talking about whether or not the restaurants had been affected by COVID. So this question is more so general to all of you guys. How has COVID affected your businesses or your journey as an entrepreneur? And this is for anyone.
I can go first. I mean, well, being in the digital space, it's a little bit different for us, fortunately, versus most businesses out there, because of course the world went remote, and with us, I mean, we've been remote for a very long time. So we're, again, Focus Media, we're a team of about 10 people. And like I told you previously, seven of my stronger talents are in Haiti. They are based in Haiti. They're like young, graphic designers, webmasters, developers, and this is something that I do advocate a lot as a side note for entrepreneurs to really keep an eye in Haiti, because there are a lot of talents over there. But to go back to the question, it didn't. Well, we grew. I mean, now with COVID, most businesses realize that they have to have like a digital presence. They needed to have a very clear website, not a website just to have a website, but a website that can handle the traffic, that can really give out the proper information, that can really speak to their audience and making sure that they can get businesses through these channels, social media. Then they realize that, okay, it wasn't really just like, okay, I have a Facebook page just to have it, but it was it became a very important channel to have in order, to keep on growing or even servicing their clients. So it might be, I know it's different for a lot of businesses out there, but fortunately for us, we grew a lot with COVID being around, and it's still affecting us. I mean, that's a good thing. The team is growing. I'm one of the things that one of my pride is the fact that I can hire people back home in Haiti, because I think this is the type of stuff that we need, because as an individual, I can't change Haiti, but I can at least do my part. I could do a little part, right? Because before hiring talents in Haiti, I used to deal with India, Pakistan, and all. And after working on some IT projects in Haiti, and I got to meet a few talents, and I'm like, oh, I should try this. And I think it was one of the best thing I've ever did for my business, because believe it or not, too, they keep me going, because when you see like you have a young kid that's 25 years old, and with the salary that you're paying him or her, he's able to take care of his mom and the little sister, then that gives you like a reason to keep on going at even like a personal level, because of course entrepreneurship is not easy. Back in 2016 when I had just started, there were some days I'm like, man, like, do I really want to do this, or should I just go back to the corporate life, get a 6-figure job and call it a day? But they keep me going, and I'm really happy about that. And I've been in the States for 20 years, but my heart really is in Haiti. I'm in the ground very often. I'm over there very, very often. I'm a little bit into farming too, believe it or not, but mostly on animal farming. So back in 2019, I started a little farming project with my good friend. I technically bought 5 pigs. That's 2 years ago, and today we have over 200. So that's a very good, lucrative business. We're into chicken a little bit as well too now. So definitely, that's Haiti's is here every 24/7.
Awesome. I love the point that you kind of like highlighted about hiring in Haiti. I actually did the same thing last summer, Haiti Tech Summit. They actually had a program, allowed you to hire some interns, and it was the best experience I've had with interns. And I definitely think that is something a lot of entrepreneurs or anyone who's starting or thinking about scaling their business, find talent in Haiti. I've done the same thing, hired in the Philippines, hired in India, and we have all this great wealth of talent in Haiti. So I'm going to take it on to the audience section. So there's questions from the audience. The first one is, how can we as Haitians and people of color create our own Silicon Valley? I think this is up for anyone to answer.
So one of the things that I am doing, and Pascale came to the graduation that we did last year, we got consensus to give us about 10 scholarships for young women to actually train them in blockchain technology. So they went through a boot camp of learning Solidity. But I think it's much more important than just teaching them the application. It's also teaching them how to be able to speak for themselves, present themselves, and also work through. And this was done with the woman who heads GECA, which is the Gestion Études Auditing in Haiti, and she works with the banks. And we have actually gotten consensus to give us another 10 for this year. And this time we've asked really that we would like to have some of the males. So we will go about 40% male and 60% women. And so we will be starting pretty soon with looking to recruit. This was also done with doing somebody in Africa, but I think this is what's important, is really getting them an opportunity to get into the new technologies, AI, blockchain, machine learning, which I know that the schools are looking at. But then what I think we are missing on is giving them the opportunity to work in there. So for me, unfortunately, I don't use Solidity, but blockchain technology is a good stepping ground. But I think that as a startup, I don't have the ability to undertake them, because part of the problem is I'm not sure they know, and maybe this is something that some of you can talk about, being able to work from home on your own and just talking to your computer to your colleagues can be disconcerting for people, mostly since Haiti is still about everybody going into offices. And so that's that part that we need to then be able to bring in. So to create our own Silicon Valley, we first need to upskill. We also need to make sure that the infrastructure gets better. Without electricity and data, I mean, though today I will say this is as bad as I get in Haiti, but without data, or internet, which is stable, you can't ask somebody to be as fruitful as you would want them to. So we first need to work on those things, and then we will be able to build our own Silicon Valley.
I'm going to open up that question again for anyone else on the panel who would like to address that question of how can we as Haitians and people of color create our own Silicon Valley?
We do have one.
Sorry.
Kenya. I was going to say Kenya.
Yeah, I just want to say that I totally agree with from our experience here with Haiti Pay, and I totally agree with Genevieve. And we have to invest in our talent to bring them to another level. And that graduation and that cohort that she had recently for the developers in blockchain, that shows this is how we have to do it to get it to another level. So yes, that's what I wanted to add.
Yeah, and I really enjoy that. Like that was a great question. I think it's definitely a part of the businesses making sure like the innovation and the ability to execute exists in Haiti. But there's also the fact that Silicon Valley would not be Silicon Valley without the environment of investors. The tech companies swarmed in that area because investors lived there. And the same thing with Miami. They're doing this new initiative to bring businesses or startups here, but they know they have to cater to investors. And so a lot of the investment vehicles that you're talking about, Genevieve, sorry, my French is terrible, but and also the equity crowdfunding, we can create those ecosystems, those financial ecosystems by consolidating and gathering that data of people who are interested in investing in Haitian-led projects. And so definitely a great question. We're going to follow that up with the question on the screen, which is, what are the steps that I need to take to get a six-figure investment in my idea? Which is the question every entrepreneur asks the minute they get their registration.
What I would say for this one is that the person has to start somewhere. I don't know if you can just come in and just ask somebody for six-figure investment on your company if you don't have anything to show for it. At least try to have a mock-up. I mean, just having a deck may not be enough, but have a mock-up or try to show some traction. If it's a website, show that people actually coming to the site, they're signing up or they're interested. So you got to show some kind of traction, some kind of movement. Like for example, myself, I have a mobile app. I mean, I cannot just say, well, this is going to be like I need six-figure investment. If I cannot show one, the restaurants are interested in signing up for it. And two, people actually downloading the app, they don't see they don't see a use, or they don't see a need for it. So if you can show traction, you can show that there's a need for it in the market. I think right now there's a lot of money to be spent. There are a lot of people that have money sitting there looking to invest them. I mean, I don't know what's going on over there in Haiti, Pascale, but I know here in the US right now, if you follow most of those VCs, that's one thing they're talking about. It's just like a lot of people are getting money thrown at them. I mean, nobody's throwing money at me, by the way. So, and of course, because being that we have like a very segmented market, like a very targeted market, like just dealing with Haitian restaurant. A lot of VC may not see us as like a possible billion dollar company, but depending on what the person has in mind. So just create a mock-up, try to show some kind of traction, and then I think it should not be too hard to get it.
Anyone else want to kind of like tackle that question? What are the steps I need to take to get a six-figure investment in my idea?
Yeah, I mean, I'll go just a little bit on that, but I definitely do agree with Tanis. You have to have something to show. I was a little bit into production back in the days, and one of the things that I learned from my friend is that because he used to kind of like help people produce the movies. I mean, you would see that even if they don't have the money to make the movie, but they'll at least make the very first scene. They'll do the first scene, and then that way they can have something to show to investors. I think it's something that's across the board. You have to have something to show because many people have ideas. Like almost everybody has ideas, but not too many are taking actions. So when you're taking action, you can show that this is what I want to do. This is what I've done so far. I think it's a lot easier to get fundings in general. And I would definitely advise any entrepreneur that are looking for investments to watch the show Shark Tank. At least you could see the type of questions that they ask. You could watch the type of stuff. I mean, I do follow them. And one of the things with Mr. Wonderful is like knowing your numbers. You got to know your numbers. You got to know. You got to have your forecasts. I mean, all these things. If you can't do them, then you could hire like a financial consultant that can help you build that. Your break-even analysis and all of that. That way, you can show to investors, okay, this is the amount of money that I need. That's gonna keep me that's gonna keep me afloat for 6 months, and then this is what the projection look like. Etc. So, I mean, that's my take on this.
And the last point I will make on this is that when an investor notices that you're actually spending your own money, then they are more likely to try to say, this guy is actually investing his own money in there. Then that may make them more likely to invest in you. But if you're just going to show up with just like, hey, you haven't spent any money of your own or your friends and family, and then you want to just find a total stranger to invest in you. I mean, if you're really good at what you do, then possibly, but more people, they're probably more than likely they're going to want to see something that you've done with yourself. Like, hey, you believe in this? You believe in this project? Show us what you've done to make it happen. So yeah.
I would like to bring one more thing, which is the investment could also come from a different way, which is going into an accelerator. So there are many organizations which will come in and take about 6% of your, basically your equity, and give you not only, so because it's not, the 100,000 is not always all in cash. You need to have money to live. You need to have developers and also people to build your idea. So if you have an idea, you can, if you're going to a VC, you need to have the prototypes and you need to have all that whereabouts. But there are a lot of very good, reputable accelerators out there, which you can go in, and you will have to kind of sign away your rights at 6%, but it will allow you to get to the prototype. And many a time, if you graduate from those programs and you get into those programs, they will actually find you the next round of investors. So I think that just going straight to VC is not always the answer. So if your idea is so great and you're willing to spend the time, that's another direction that you can take.
And to complete that, I'd say that there are many, many accelerator programs that are available for the Caribbean community. So talking to my Haitian Fintech or Haitian startup community, it is very important to have something to demonstrate. So look into it, Google it, you'll find many options for accelerators for the Caribbean community if you're based in Haiti. So that might be very interesting.
And just to double down on what Genevieve mentioned, like there are going to be so many different options, different ways to get funding, angel, equity, crowdfunding, but all of it is going to rely on how much trust you can kind of like impart on the person who's actually investing. So like doing that groundwork that Tanis and Clifford kind of mentioned is going to be crucial in terms of like kind of laying out the value and actually getting that 6-7 figure or whatever amount it is for your business. So laying down the proper foundation is I think key. Next question is, which areas, and this is for you, Tanis, which areas does TapTap now cover nationwide or worldwide, since Haitians are all over the world?
The simple answer is worldwide. Right now, I can offer takeout in France, UK, Sweden, the US, of course, and yes, I think in France. Well, I did say France, okay. But like Haiti right now, I don't quite have. I don't have like a payment processing that I'm using, a payment processing platform that I'm using right now. So I'm definitely looking at AT Pay or Moon Cash, because I don't know, but we can definitely add that to it. But yes, we were worldwide, and then it's pretty much very simple for them to just set up and join. Yeah.
All right, so next question, and I think this might be directed more to you, Genevieve. How can I invest in farming in Haiti?
Unmuting. That's a tough question for me, because I'm not investing in farming. I'm providing a solution to the people who are in farming. And this is really about lifting the poor farmer, the 40%, which are the bottom of the economy. So what there is that there are actually quite a bit of opportunities in farming, but I'm not sure that I would say that I am a proponent of large-scale farming. I am looking very much for regenerative farming. So it's a question that I would pass on, actually, because I'm not the expert there.
Just because, Clifford, you mentioned you had like pigs, you had like a farm where you're raising, I guess, poultry, or what's pigs? What category?
Poultry and pigs. Yeah.
Yeah, poultry and pigs. Do you have an answer for this? Like, how did you get started with your farm in Haiti?
Well, I mean, I technically started in with a very small land that my friend had, and maybe I don't think we started the right way. So I'm not an expert in the area, so I don't want to speak on that. But we started in Kiskoff, which I got coached by Dr. Saint-Fort. And by the way, this is I think anybody that want to start, as a matter of fact, should visit Ezovet. They are in I think they are under somewhere when you go into Quadebouquet, but you could Google them. They also have a store in Pétionville, because they sell like foods for dogs, poultry, pigs, or whatever. So I made sure like I had a seminar from him with my friend Dr. Saint-Fort. But of course we studied in Kiskoff, which wasn't ideal, because when our pigs were giving birth, it was kind of like too cold, so we had to kind of like get like some system to warm them up and all. But that's technically we just got I got the seminar from him, learned the right way of doing things, because a lot of time in Haiti we don't do things the right way, and this is why people will say, okay, like the pig industry doesn't bring that much money. It's because the people that are doing it, they're not really following the standards, and then of course the animals are dying because they're not following the proper guidelines. Because when we're training our helpers, they would laugh at us, because they're like, oh, the animals are not like humans, so why are you guys doing all of that? Wearing coat before we go like around them, the boots, and also, I mean, I would say, in my opinion, it's just get some of the proper training, at least for the animal farming. And we've been expanding. So what we did is we found someone that left Haiti, and of course he's probably not gonna be back for X amount of years. So he has a land, and we technically he has a land in Pernier. It's a lot of land, so we technically did a deal with him for 10 years. So we're actually migrating all of our animals there at the moment, so that we can technically expand and grow. So This was an experiment that just happened to work. So.
And I think usually entrepreneurship is that, it's an experiment. And a lot of times, like you mentioned, the doctor, and it's reaching out to people who have more information, a lot more experience, and allowing that to help, shape you, kind of like being able to pivot, make the right decisions, because it's not always going to come naturally. We have another question up front, and that is, and it's from Johnny BNM. Good evening. If someone is looking to go into agronomy, the study of agriculture, are there scholarships available? And I think go ahead.
I can actually take that one. So I believe there's two ways. There are obviously the NAAHP scholarship, so if somebody's in the US, but actually also in Haiti, Quisqueya University has a very big program with University of Southern Florida. University of Florida. I'm not sure if it's SFU or what, but there is a lot of, so Dr. The name just escaped me. So the head of Quisqueya, the agronomist who runs Quisqueya, is actually the one which made the millet stop, because we're having a millet was issue in Haiti and we were no longer having it, and he was able to revive it through really using different genetic mapping. And so one of the things that this is something which is very big in Haiti, and is actually a very big lab around agronomy in Quisqueya. And something that actually I learned is that the avocado apparently does not come from Mexico, it comes from Haiti. And it makes sense, because when Christopher Columbus actually discovered Haiti first, and then from Haiti, he started going toward Mexico. And this is a great fruit in terms of having enough fat and being able to keep a ship very well afloat. And then you take that stone and you create the avocado. So this is something that definitely there is a lot of opportunity, and Haiti does spend a lot of time also working in the Caribbean. Unfortunately, I know, or fortunately, because my family, I think we have 7 of them who are agronomists. I hope that answers the question.
I think that does. And again, going back to what the information Clifford shared, what was the name of the doctor that you met? Because I think combined with the university, Ken Scott, and I believe Genevieve, what you mentioned, like the dean of agronomy there, and the person you mentioned, I think that might be a great starting point for our audience members to ask that question.
Name is Dr. Fegui Saint-Fort. He's a doctor veterinaire, so he technically learned that. I mean, he was in Cuba, so he's pretty good at what he does. And he also has a porchery up in Jacmel that's growing very well.
Oh, awesome! I have to check that out. That's where my dad's from.
Nice. Awesome. Well, I have a coffee from Jacmel, by the way.
Oh, you're just disclosing that. Oh my God.
It's here in the States. I'm just working on the label. The coffee is here. I'm drinking it every day. I'm so excited. It's like real good coffee from the mountains of Haiti. So I partner with Saint-Remy. They're from Jacmel as well. And I got the coffee from him, direct trade, and I'm very excited about that.
I'm excited. Go ahead.
I found the name. It's Dr. Gaël Pressoir. And so I've also put the link in. So Gaël Pressoir is heading the Quisqueya Agricultural, and he's also working with Cornell and also Kellogg. So we have a very great lab in Haiti for that. And I do know that he gets about 20 scholarships a year with University of Florida.
Awesome. I just love that we're able to share all these resources about the people who are on the ground working on these issues. So we'll share those links for those experts will be shared with our audience members. So follow us on social media and you should be able to see those links available to you. So next up, I want to just round this off with some of the final questions that I had. So this is not going to be audience questions, but just some questions I have for you guys. So what we talked about our businesses, we talked about funding, we talked about talent, and all of these things. So what resources would you recommend to, fellow entrepreneurs who are looking to launch a business, whether it's in your space or any industry for that matter?
For me, I would say do your research. Try to speak to as many people that's on your field or like the field that you try to get into. Some of the lessons that I've learned like through this is just like keep an open mind. Don't just think, whatever idea you have right now, you want to start with, that's what you're going to end up with. So be flexible. So that's some of the things I've learned like over the course of the past year or so, from the time that I launched the app until now, the amount of adjustment I've had to make, I'm still not there, and I'm still learning because every time I add something, I just reach out to a couple of restaurant owners, chef, ask them questions. Hey, what do you think? And then they'll bring more stuff. Then I'll just go back to the drawing board. Hey, what can I change? What can I add? One of the biggest issues for restaurants right now, the reason why they refuse to use Uber Eats and DoorDash, it's because not only they're taking 25-30% from them. This platform, they don't pay the restaurant for like 2 weeks or a month. So a lot of them have issue with cash flow. So pretty much we have to design our system where the minute that the customer pays for their food, we wanted to make sure the money goes straight to the restaurant account. Again, we have to go back and then find the right payment processing platform that's just going to allow us to do that. So just be flexible and keep an open mind, and then just be ready to learn, because you're definitely going to have to change whatever idea you had. Your original idea is going to change many times over. So yeah.
Anyone else want to take up that question?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, I'll go after Genevieve.
Yes, thank you. Sorry, Clifford. I was going to say it's also reach out to the community. The Haitian community is actually pretty large and very entrepreneurial. We forget that. We think that we are the first entrepreneur. Every Madame Sarah is an entrepreneur in herself. She is hustling and selling and getting things done. The woman who sells the rice in the marketplace, or those food vendors, they're also entrepreneurial. So it is in our blood. So what we need to do is also be open ourselves to be able to help others and also reach out to the community. And you'd be surprised how many Haitians are very successful in law, in technology. I mean, so many CEOs, CTOs who are at the forefront. Not everybody takes the leap like we have, the crazy one of us who decide, well, I'm going to fly solo and try to make this kite go up. But there are other people who have that string and are flying kites in a more secure way. But that doesn't mean they're not open to really supporting the community. And all you can do is ask a question and get an answer. It may not be the answer that you were looking for, but at least you can get an answer and be able to go in the right path.
I'd say to an entrepreneur or someone going to launch a startup right now, today you have to know where you're going. You have to make your researches. You have to know your numbers. You have to make your business plan. You have to know everything about your business idea and learn about it as much as you can. And also keep focus on your goals and focus on the price, because there can be a lot of interference and a lot of distraction when doing a startup. So you might find it sometimes moving around, doing things that are not related to your final goal. So you have to focus on your price.
I can add up to that. Mostly, since I'm in the online space, mostly for the online aspect of things, right? One of the mistakes that I see people make all the time, and I use this analogy of like a man walking into a bar and see like a bunch of beautiful women and just shout at them and say, is anyone here just want to get married with me tonight? Which most of the time does not work. So this is the same thing that that I see the mistakes that entrepreneurs make, which they try to offer their core services, their expensive product to someone that don't even know who they are. Like very first contact, and then you just boom, like offer them a $500 product, which most of the time does not work, right? So this is one of my, I won't even call it secret sauce, but one of the things that I do with any businesses that I work with is really sit down with them for a couple of days where we could define. I have an eight-step process called the customer value journey to see how we can, turn a stranger into a raving fan without just asking them to marry on the first date, right? Because as human, what do we do? I'm sure like we have significant order. If we think about how it happened in the past, then we'll realize that, okay, the first day you probably saw the person, maybe it was at a public place, exchange names, how you doing, and maybe there was like a shake of hands, right? Then exchanging of numbers, some type of conversation going on between like text messages, WhatsApp, or however it was, and inviting the person maybe to have coffee one-to-one, like a more intimate place, right? Then conversation keep on going, and you can go to an official date. Then we know the rest, like all the way up to like getting married. So it's the same thing for the online business. And this is a lot of time people say it does, ads doesn't work. It's because they're asking people to take action on something that they're not ready to do. They don't even know who you are, right? I learned that stuff from Ryan Dice, which is the founder of digitalmarketer.com. And technically, they got me the same way, right? They're like a digital marketing platform. So they offered me somehow, I saw an ad for like a free PDF that they were offering for marketers. Fast forward, I ended up getting into like a partnership program with them for $10,000 a year. So what happened is that I got the free PDF. I was happy. Then they kept on talking to me. I got offered something called the Digital Marketing Lab for $30 per month, which I got. It was really well. And I bumped into something else that was, I think it was $500 at the time, all the way up to like being so comfortable that I was able to get this, and be part of the program. That's $10K, right? Think about it. If the first time I saw the ad on Facebook, it was about, join our partnership program for $10,000 a month. I'll be like, what? You're crazy. I don't even know who you are, So if we think about like a Machan Kenep in Haiti, right? And if there's one thing that I want entrepreneurs to remember from me tonight is that the Machan Kenep, the reason why, if their Kenep is good for the day, the reason why they'll sold out for the day is because somebody can walk up to them and ask them to taste it. And they get to taste it, and then that person would feel comfortable to buy for maybe $50 because they know how it is. So it's the same thing. It doesn't matter the business that you're in, because I know some of the business that you're in, you can have like a piece of the product. Let's say you're not into e-com, then you probably don't have, let's say like we'll take TapTap for example. TapTap might not have a little piece of thing to really give someone to try, but maybe a free trial, or maybe even contents about something that's related to Haiti, something that's related to the culture. And there's always something that you can do to build relationships with people, and then so that you can take them where you want to take them. So always remember that. See your business as like a men and women, and ask yourself, how can I meet that person and ask them to go on a date without asking them to marry me on the first interaction? Or how can I structure my business like a Machan Kenep? Give the person something to taste first. That way, then they can become comfortable to give me their money without me even harassing them for it. That's my take on that.
Awesome. Thank you for that. So I'm going to close it out with this last question, and it's a 3-part. So the first part is, what's your exit strategy? Because I think a lot of times we forget to ask this of our startups or our companies. That's something that we should have in mind or already kind of like know. 2, what's next for you and your business? And thirdly, where can we find you guys online, since we're wrapping up on our last 9-10 minutes? Whoever wants to go first, go ahead.
Ladies first.
Sure. So I don't believe in exit strategy. I believe in having a strategy in case I exit faster than I should, like if I get hit by a bus. So you need to have the risk factors taken into it. For me, the business, things can happen, and I'd like to actually say no one asked the CEO of Amazon what was his exit strategy. So yes, he did tell VCs something, but he didn't plan on it. He retired. So exit strategy, I think, is not so important as a strategy. What happens if you're not there? How do you make sure that the business can continue to exist? In terms of what's next for me, I'm actually looking to expand more in the US, working with food company, because we're realizing what we are food tech. So looking to work with food companies and also with financial institutions to actually be able to clearly create this decentralized finance aspect where people are paid without as many, because I don't really want to bring in crypto in the farming industry at this time. They may want to buy their own crypto, that's their prerogative, but this way it's making sure that liquidity can exist. And finally, you can find me at Genevieve Leveille, or AgriLedger is at AgriLedger on every platform. And thank you very much for having me.
Next person want to take on that question? What's your exit strategy, if you have one? What's next for you and your company? And 3, where can our audience find you online?
In terms of exit strategy is make sure what we build today keeps going on, and have that's what I do. Startups, businesses. So I have another one. What's next? We are implementing the SellPay and developing the cash to goods platform. And here we are in the middle of raising our first round of capital. And where they can find me, Pascale Elie on all social media platforms, and sellpay.com, HaitiPay.com, and also on social media, the SellPay and HaitiPay are present on social media.
All right, for Tap now. Right now, I'm dealing with so many bumps right now on the road, so I don't even want to think about exit strategy right now, because I feel like I'm just getting started. So pretty much exit strategy, I may have something in the back of my mind, but that's just out of the window right now. That's just not a focus for us. The next step for us right now, we're looking to add delivery to our platform. A lot of the restaurants, they want delivery. So although we were trying to stay away from it because of the liability and then the costs and everything else that's involved in that. But it looks like there's a big demand for it. So we're thinking about possibly like try it at a lower scale, maybe find like a place like North Miami Beach where there's like a big concentration of Haitian restaurants within a 5 to 10 mile radius, and then get a couple of drivers and then see how that happens. So that's one we're looking into. The next thing, we've gotten some feedback from customers, from our users through surveys to figure out exactly what the app should look like. One of the suggestions we received from several people is that they want Tap now to become like or everything Haitian, kind of, so to speak. Let's say right now, if you're looking for a barber, you in like Philadelphia, looking for Haitian barber, you're looking for Haitian mechanic, you in like you just can open the app and it shows you everything else. So I don't know if I want to go that route at this point, because I know quite a few people that are working on something similar to this. I wanted to kind of just let them, figure it out and then see if that works for us. But so far, we're just going to stick with what we're doing, and then maybe we're going to add delivery slowly but surely, and then see what happens from there. And we're pretty much on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Tap Now, look it up. And one ask for the users or the viewers is that please download the app, share it with your friends and family. And if you go to your restaurant, just let them know, hey, please tell them to join the app, because that's how we're supporting the entire platform. So again, thank you, Whitney, and then thank you, NAAHP, for this, and I really enjoy it. And my fellow panelists, so thank you.
And finally, we have Clifford.
Thank you. By the way, Tanis, good job. I do see your ads on Roku all the time. Yeah, so for me, I wouldn't say an exit strategy. What's next for me? I'm getting more into coaching because I realize that, like, especially the startups, the new businesses, sometimes they don't have the funds to really have us as a team do the job for them, like a do it for me, right? So I want to get more. I've been coaching, and I want to get more into that to so that I can impact a lot more businesses. Let's say like a new entrepreneur, and you don't have the funds to really have the entire team do the work for you. Then you can technically learn, like something practical, tactical that you can learn, so that you can start doing things on your own, like start building. Like your bridges, right? One at a time. So, and also one other thing that I look forward to look into again. Now that I saw like Pascale spoke about the mobile money and all of that. I mean, at some point, I really wanted to make a bigger impact in Haiti, because our customer base are in the States, right? But at some point, I was really looking to see how I can help entrepreneurs in Haiti get a little bit more digital. Because why is like someone that's in Cap Haitian that has the best Haitian chocolate cannot have a website where somebody in Port-au-Prince can just go to the website, buy the chocolate, pay with some type of electronic money, and that person in Cap Haitian can probably use the public transport, right? Maybe the bus, and just send that goods to the person in Port-au-Prince, right? Until, like maybe transportation gets better. I did a lot of back and forth with Digicel because I wanted that the Mocash API for, for the web, for WordPress and all. I actually contacted Pascale too back in the days. Maybe it was via Instagram because I was looking for companies that are doing that type of stuff that can provide some type of API so we can integrate for businesses that are in Haiti to see how we can promote like the e-com space within Haiti, right? Well, this is something I look into again because I think it would help, because the people in Cap Haitian, they have really good, they have goods that they can sell, and Jacques Mel and Jeremy, these young people, they have stuff that they can do, and the same for someone that's in Port-au-Prince, somebody that's maybe in Port-au-Prince can log onto the website and pay through the website, with their electronic money or whatever, and have the goods delivered. So technically, that's what's next for me. I'm not going anywhere, so I wouldn't say an exit strategy. I technically want to impact a lot more entrepreneurs within the digital space. So that's about it for me.
Awesome. And
now
I just
need the whole panel to work with you.
Exactly.
What did you say?
You need the whole panel, every panelist. Now, this is your dream team now.
Yeah, exactly. Dream team, definitely.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed having you guys all here. There are definitely lots of more questions I would have loved to ask you. That 1 hour, 30 minutes kind of like went by so fast. And so I implore anybody in the audience who has additional questions to connect with all of these entrepreneurs that are on our panel. I want to, again, give a great shout out and thanks to our partners, Chocorella and Bucket Right Accountancy. And I want to also just thank NAAHP for, allowing us to have this conversation. And again, if you're an entrepreneur out there, I think the consensus of what everyone has shared is you have to be tenacious. You have to reach out, make partnerships with other individuals who may have more experience. You have to have an open mind, the ability to kind of like pivot and try new things. And again, we're in this digital age, Google University. Any question you may have can be answered as long as you ask the question. And so getting really good at asking a lot of questions is probably the best thing or best suggestion I could give you as a resource. There's organizations like NAAHP and others, universities that can provide you resources, but it's up to you to grab it. So again, thank you for this conversation, and I'm going to bid you guys all good night.
Thank you, Whitney. Thank you, everyone. Thank you
Bye.
to the partners.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.